All spiritual literature and metaphysical literature says that God is love, God is intelligence, God is law, God is life, God is spirit, God is soul. There isn't a word of truth in that. And you can prove that for yourself. All of the synonyms for God testify only to the nature of God. They do not reveal God. If you say God is God, that doesn't tell you very much. But now say God is spirit and see if that tells you any more. Or say God is mind and see if that tells you any more. Or God is love, does that tell you any more? And you'll find in the end it doesn't. But if you say the nature of God is love, now I commence to understand that love, that God shows himself or itself forth as love, as care, as protection. Yes, I can see that love is an attribute of God. God is intelligence. Well, I need only look around at roses coming from rose bushes, apples from apple trees, and so forth, and I can see that God is intelligence because there is a law of like begetting like, and an intelligence alone could have produced that. Therefore, I can see that God functions as intelligence. I can see that the nature of God is intelligence. That still hasn't told me what God is. It's just told me one of the characteristics or facets of God. God is spirit. Well, now I don't know what spirit is except this. I do know that spirit is incorporeal. It has no physical form. I know that it is incorporeal. It can't be seen, heard, tasted, touched, or smelled. Therefore, I know that the nature of God is incorporeality. It doesn't tell me any more about God except about the nature of God. But God is still a mystery to me. God is law? No. But God functions as law. Oh, yes. Certainly there are spiritual laws. There are the laws of nature, all of which are absolute. They can't be violated. You cannot violate H2O being water. You cannot violate 2 times 2 being 4. Certainly God functions as law, but that hasn't told me anything about God yet. It's told me about the nature of God, the function of God, the attributes of God. God is still hidden from me. I still haven't gotten close to God. Now, what is God? Well, it just seems that the more words I project up into my mind, the more I discover that it isn't God, that it is just either a word about God, a thought about God, a theory about God, an unfoldment of God, an attribute of God. I'm still up here in the realm of words. I'm still up here in the realm of thoughts. I'm still up here in the realm of opinions. I still haven't reached the realm of God. The more words I find to project up here, the more I discover that I'm learning more about God. I'm learning nothing of God. And that brings up a question. What did I just say? I am not learning of God. Oh, there is an I and a God. Well, I just said so, didn't I? I just said I am not learning God, or I am not meeting God, or I am not finding God. What did I say? I said I and God. Well, that's a mystery. That's a mystery. There is an I and there is a God. Is that true? No. It thunders back inside of you? No. There cannot be an I and God. Oh, but I've been building a God. Haven't I been building life, truth, love, principle, soul, spirit, all the rest of these synonyms out here? Yes, I've been creating a God. I'm no different than the old pagans who had God up on a cloud with a big white beard. They invented their God, and I'm inventing a God. Who is this I that's doing all this inventing of God? Now you have the answer, don't you? I is God. There are not two. So is there any other name for God but I? And do you not see that when this reveals itself to you, that something warm and joyous and sacred has taken place within you? And why you must go and tell no man what things ye have seen? You have been given, you've had revealed to you the pearl of great price. What are you going to do? Throw it out there for the lovers of baubles to trample on it? No, you have the pearl. It has been revealed to you. I is God. I, the knower, is also the known. And the only reason I can know God is because I is God. Otherwise, there would be an I knowing something objective or subjective to itself instead of I knowing itself. When I know myself, I know God. O man, knowest thyself, and thou wilt discover God. All the way back to the Greeks. Realize yourself. And when you realize yourself, you will not be egotistical. You will have recognized that the self of me is the self of you, because God is self. Therefore, I am self, and self is I, and there is no way for I to project a God out here. I is the God. Now look what this does to you. It immediately drops from you all fear, because if the I of yourself is God, what is there external to you or internal to you that can thwart God's will, or destroy God's life, or destroy God's mind, or destroy God's body? The only question is whether or not I am that I. That's the only question that must be settled in your consciousness. Am I that I, or is there another? I know not any other. Is there an I other than I? Is there a God up in the sky? Is there a God sitting on a cloud? Is there a God walking around on earth? I know not any. I have never seen any, heard of any. The only God that has ever revealed itself to me has been through the still small voice which is uttered within me. Therefore, the source of the still small voice must be within me, but there is nothing within me but me. I am the only being that I am. I am the only being that I am. Therefore, if I hear a still small voice, it must come from within the depths of myself. It can't be what is called a human self, because everybody would have it. It must come from that self of me which I recognize to be divine. Now, if I and my Father are one, I must be that one. And therefore, I am never knowing God unless I know I, in the midst of me, am He. I am. Not the bold, brazen I man that wants to walk up and down the street saying, I am God, but the I man that sacredly and secretly has received an inner voice saying, be still, be still. Joel, be still, because I is God. Joel, be still. Don't you know I, in the midst of you, is God? I will never leave thee. I am come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. Joel, be still. I am in the midst of you. I am your being. I am your bread, your meat, your wine, your water. Be still, Joel. Let that mind be still. Let those fears be still. I. There are no powers external. There is no God in words or thoughts. I am God. This is the pearl that must be hid so that it isn't trampled upon. But it is a pearl that must be shared. But it must only be shared with those who sacredly can receive it and be trusted with it, because when the human mind receives it, if it's not prepared, it wants to go right out and use it to conquer the world. Oh, I have God, or I am God. Now I'll go out and be president of the United States. I want 1 million. I want 10 million, 100. Why not? I am God. Do you see that? But the soul that is prepared said, oh, I am God. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. I have all that I need. I have all that I want. And the world's baubles are of no interest to me. No, you can't be God and still be interested in name or fame or fortune. These will come to you, but by that time you won't value them. You won't think of them as anything. You'll know that you of your own self didn't even attain them. It's strange, but there are ancient wisdoms to the effect that the moment you stop chasing God, God chases you. The moment you stop chasing supply, supply chases you. The moment you stop chasing companionship, companionship chases you. All you have to do is be still and let it catch up to you. And the reason is that it's in the midst of you, and you're running around out here, physically or mentally, trying to find something that's buried in here. Why can't you find God? How can you find yourself unless you sit down and get quiet? How can you find yourself while you're searching in your mind, or in holy temples, or in holy cities? How can you find what you are? And if you go back to the book, The Infinite Way, you'll discover it. That which I am seeking, I am. I will never realize this until I stop the search, become still, and know that I am God. And rest in it. Rest in it. And then not look to see what I can do with that knowledge, or what I can get with that knowledge, or what I can be with that knowledge. Be satisfied. Be satisfied. I have found the pearl of great price, and I'm never going to show it to anyone but a connoisseur of pearls. I am that presence. I am that Spirit. I am that Son of God. I am that Christ. We won't speak this way to our students, to your students, or your patients, or your friends. We will still use the language of, I can do all things through Christ that dwelleth in me. I live, yet not I. Christ liveth my life. There is a presence within me that goes out to make the crooked places straight. We will still talk that language, but when we are doing it, we will know that it is all true, but there's just one little thing that we won't say. I am that presence. I am that Spirit. I and my Father are one, and I am that one. And now you will understand the meaning of one of the deep passages of Scripture. He hangeth the earth on nothing. Now, you will never have to search around in your mind for a truth, for any reason. Why? I am the truth. Then all you have to do is rest. Just rest. And you'll find that God is in action. The longer you keep searching around for a truth, the longer you're searching for the Holy Grail. And you won't find it until you come to a place of nothingness. Now you'll know why you can heal. It doesn't require something to heal with. It is not what you know that heals, it's what you are that heals. What are you? I am with you. You discovered this week that you are not in your body. Then where are you? Well, you know now that you are omnipresence. But before this, you know what you said? God is omnipresence. Well, now what were you? There it is again. We have a God and a you. Now you will know I am omnipresence, and therefore I am where you are. Wherever you are, out in the ocean in a boat, in the desert lost, I am there. I am where you are. Step by step, you come to drop the word God for the word I. Because when you started in this class, there was an I and a God. And there was I searching for God. I searching for truth. But you see, I is infinite. I is omniscience. Now, having spoken so at length on the subject of I, let us carry it further. What am I made of? What is it that constitutes the I, that I am? And you will quickly in your meditations perceive that you couldn't know anything without being conscious. And you couldn't be conscious if you weren't consciousness. And so you will find that I am consciousness, or consciousness is what I am. While you'll read this in a book, you'll see this, you'll hear this on tape, it will only mean something to you when you have the realization of it. You must realize that you wouldn't even be hearing a word I'm saying if it weren't for your consciousness, or the consciousness which you are. But on the other hand, supposing you did hear it, what good would it do you if you didn't understand it? Then understanding must be a part of the consciousness which you are. But even if you could understand it intellectually and you couldn't spiritually discern it, what good would it do to you or be to you? None. Therefore, spiritual discernment must be a faculty of consciousness. The whole secret is that I am consciousness. Consciousness is what I am. And because I and the Father are one, it is divine consciousness that I am, spiritual consciousness that I am. I only lower that in the degree that I'm willing to entertain both good and evil. Then I lower my consciousness to a lower level than the divine. I can lower it. If I want to accept mental powers, I can lower my consciousness from the divine to the mental. If I want to lower it still further, I can accept material and mental powers. that I've lowered it way down into mortality. But if I wish to maintain myself as spiritual consciousness individualized, I must hold myself at the level of no power. I do not exercise any powers, and no one exercises any powers over me. I am being. I am consciousness. I am spirit. I am omniscience. I am omnipresence. I am omnipotence. But I don't have to exercise powers. I am powers. But powers that do not function as power. Just the power of being. I've always said this for more than 30 years. The greatest spiritual wisdom on earth was spoken by Popeye the Sailor. He had it all. I am what I am. And that's what I am. And that's what we can say. I am what I am. I must not try to be something other than I am. When I try to be better than I am, I'm hypocritical. And when I'm less than what I am, I'm just a dumb fool. But I must be what I am. And if I realize that I am what I am, I will be showing forth the I that I am, the divine qualities and nature that I am. Oh, sometimes humanhood will get in the way and hide it for a little while. That doesn't last long. That's like the Master in the Garden of Gethsemane. I think he was a little bit fretful about his disciples that couldn't stay awake with him, couldn't pray with him. Those are human tendencies that crop up once in a while. Since the I that I am is God, life eternal, the same yesterday, today, and forever, is age the belief in two powers. Of course, it's not only the belief in two powers, it's the belief in two selfhoods. If you mean it, that I am the I am that I am, and that I am is God, there can be no question of age, because I am immortality. I am from everlasting to everlasting. And there is no age, there is only the belief of age, and the belief of age can only operate as long as I believe that I am human, that there is an I and a God. Now, if you go back to the original book, The Infinite Way, you will discover that the infinite way is based on two words, as and is. God is manifest as individual being, and I am that being. God is. I am. This is one. God is manifested as individual being. And this being, I am. And so you don't see, we don't have God and man. We have God expressed as individual being, but still God, still I. For I the Father and I the Son are one. And all that I the Father is, I the Son am. As long as you have an I seeking God, you have not come home. Only when you realize I is God, are you at home in Him. Are you at peace? For when I and the Father are one, I have nothing to be unpeaceful about. I have nothing to fear and no one to fear. I have nothing to hate, nothing to resent. Neither life nor death can separate me from the love of God. I and my Father are one. Be assured of that, and be assured that you can within yourself declare that. All that the Father hath is mine, and the I that is within me is come, that I might have life and that I might have it more abundantly. And I do not have to use truth to attain anything. I must abide in truth. Abide in the center of my being in quietness and in stillness, in quietness and in confidence shall be my strength. In quietness, in stillness, be still, be still, be still, and know that I am God, and there's nothing else to know, and there's nothing else to do. Be at peace, it is I. Be at peace, it is I, and rest. And then in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, when you have something to do, get up and do it. And it makes no difference whether it's washing dishes, making beds, going out into the business world, whatever it is, do it. And then when you can, return and be at peace within me. Find me within you. Find that I am within you. Find the I am that you are. Find that you are I.